Welcome back to the lonely road. This road isn't so fucking lonely anymore. Goddamn, we're going through fucking shits and giggles. How the
Cheers.
fuck have you motherfuckers been? It's been a
Cheers.
weird fucking time. It's weird.
Yeah, it's been a day. It's been a day.
Yeah, a couple days. I kind of want to cut off my own foot so that way I don't have to walk this lonely fucking road. But we're here to better yourself, better myself, hopefully. But
The
wow,
more we
it's been
walk
a
it, honestly, the more each of our lives get. The more we walk our own road, I'm noticing, the fuller each one of our lives gets. Like your life
yeah.
is getting full right now, little by little. Things are falling into place, the cards are folding in, and the table is set. In my life, I'm walking my road and my flowers are blooming. It's amazing
Yeah,
how that happens when you do that.
it's like you're watching a musical and the fucking orchestra is going getting so fucking aggressive and it's about to hit the crescendo and I'm just about to bang on the table and say game's done. It's gotten to such a weird place and it's surreal, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's a shame that things have gotten this way, but that's testament to when you just don't do what you need to do with yourself, because everything starts from within here. If you can't control or manage what happens in here, you can't control and manage anything out here.
No, and it's so weird. It's so weird. Like I was telling him literally just the other night, hey, regardless of what happens at court, regardless of what happens in life, I want you to look at this always. If you're going to walk away from something, you're going to deal with something, you're going to do something and be put in a situation where this person may no longer be in your life. Do not walk away from it knowing that you can't fix this if you want it. Don't make it worse for yourself. Don't make it worse for the people around you. If you want something, leave it in a place that it can be fixed. Don't just kick every single fucking can as far as you possibly fucking can because at some point your heart cares.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because when you disconnect for a reason. But you gotta remember, and that was my downfall in a few of relationships in my past or in my life, that I just went scorched earth,
Mm.
because of my feelings instead of just letting it be and simmer and just chill and then speak from that place, to leave things at a palatable place where you can pick them up and mend them later on if you need to.
Because if you're the one that's hurt and you're the one that was damaged by something and you're the reason why you have to walk away because that person hurt you, they have to be able to accept when you come back that they have to give an apology. It's not the other way around. And like I was just having a talk with my mom about this because this is exactly what happened to us. Like I said, hey, you disrespected me. I can't do this anymore. It's not okay. This is on you, not on me. Is there things that I did in this situation? Absolutely. But your step is first. And it's completely okay to hold that boundary. And so many people want to just step on. That's why you get walked on, is like you don't want to hold the boundary of the first step. So then every boundary you ever make after that point feels flimsy to begin with because at some point it's going to get stepped on because you've never held a boundary after the first step.
Right.
So like it's weird because it for so long you learn that you have to accept everything that all of your family throws you and everything else. So when you finally figure out, oh, I have to hold a boundary, it gets really fucking weird.
Yeah, because when you're adult, you get to hold those boundaries. When in my childhood, I really didn't get to choose boundaries. You
Yeah.
know, they were chosen for me, and in a lot of ways, I wasn't okay with the boundaries that were chosen for me, and so I drew lines. And instead of being lines in the sand that can be mended later on when I grown,
Mhm.
um, I threw uh, I threw lines in cement and it hardened.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those lines that you draw in relationships or boundaries at all, whether it's with a significant other, whether it's with a family member, no matter who the fuck it is with, understand that if you accept it to be broken or not, because it's so hard to be like, okay, if you cross this little boundary, everything's gone. It's like that's not how friendships work. That's not how family relationships work. That's not
No.
how a actual relationship works. But if every boundary you ever have gets crossed, you're also a bad person too, because you're just one of those people that accepts being hurt with everything. So what are you even standing on? And it becomes such a conundrum and paradox of like, okay, so how do you actually build a fucking boundary? How do you actually do it? Because it doesn't work for a lot of people because they don't understand.
Yeah, you have to make sure if you're in a spot with a person and you're reconnecting, and you have the ability and you've come to a crossroads again with that person and you're able to mend the fences, that you do that. If you need to apologize, you're the one
Mhm.
that needs to bring forth the apology. If you need to
Yep.
give if that other person needs to give an apology, they need to be ready to give that apology
Or ready to accept it,
or ready to accept it and move on. But you can't you've like I said was saying before, you disconnected with that person for a reason. So you got to make sure that you aren't stepping back into the same pile of bullshit that you stepped out of.
especially if it's a traumatic experience. Like the more trauma, the more pain, the more problems that are put in that situation, the more likely that there are going to be bigger and bigger and bigger issues you have to handle in this situation. It becomes so disconnected and convoluted that it becomes absolutely fucking massive.
Yeah, but you can only do one thing at a time. So at some point, you need to stop. It's like when I was a kid with the whole stop, drop, and roll. I've never, another thing like quicksand that I've never had to deal with is the whole stop, dropping, and rolling. But they
I
had
mean,
us
you've never been on
trained.
fire?
I have never been on fire.
I haven't either. The only time I've ever been on fire is trying to freestyle rap an Eminem song. That's it. Especially on fire. But
No, it's it's just you have to you removed yourself. So make sure just make sure that when you're trying to reconnect, you're not reconnecting into a brick wall or somebody that just wants to push things under a rug, and then continue the same behaviors over again.
yeah, exactly. The big thing that I learned, especially with my mom, especially with so much of the shit that I dealt with, was looking at it and trying to figure out exactly how do I accept an apology for something so big? How do I talk about this thing with not feeling invalidated because everybody wants to be defensive first. And the biggest thing is anybody being defensive when you're saying, "Hey, you did this thing and it hurt me." Defensiveness proves that they are not ready to fucking apologize yet.
Right.
And it's okay to say, "Okay, well, I was ready to accept your apology. You're not ready yet. I'm going to go back to what I was doing."
Right. You have to
Because if you
understand that
keep
then
having you keep having that conversation, it's just going to hurt you.
yeah, and it may be just be an extra step in the process that needs to happen, which in this case, in your case with your mom, it was. It was just an extra step that needed to happen. She just needed to hear it. It was hard to hear it. She went into her cocoon. She spun that web and figured out how to wrap her brain around that, realized her mistakes, and came back
Yeah.
and, you know,
But
was
so
ready
many
to have the
people's mental
conversation.
illness wants to put them in that defensive stance.
Yeah.
They feel abandoned, they feel disrespected, they feel, "Oh my god, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me." Nah, bitch, it's not. Like you're just being told how you hurt somebody. Like you did it, you made those feelings happen. Regardless of if you feel you did or not, that's not the conversation we're having. You kind of have to accept it, understand where the person's coming from, and then you can grow from there and have the conversation. If both people don't understand and respect the other person's opinion, though, you're never going to grow. It's just never going to happen.
No, you're not, 'cause you know, I mean, you can have that kind of experience, where you can have conversations, and maybe there's an extra step that needs to happen where somebody needs to have processing time, and then you can move forward on the conversational journey, but there's also a scenario where you don't communicate. There's no talking about how you're feeling because feelings are not important. It is you need to do what you need to do and you just need to get over it. It happened and things need to move forward. And that was so hard for me in my particular situation to deal with cuz straight out my dad was not a feelings talking kind of guy. You know,
Yeah.
a situation happens, you got over it or didn't get over it, and there were a few situations that I couldn't get over without
Yeah,
talking
that's
about it or
exactly
having
without you
some
telling
kind
me
of
about it.
acknowledgement, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's tough.
Well, a lot of dudes are told that they have to be that way. A lot of dudes are not given the availability to be understanding of somebody else
Right,
because anytime they show something in front, especially in front of females, like it's seen as weakness
right,
by a lot of people, whether you want to say that's misogynistic or not. Like there is a disconnect there with a lot of females when they see their man cry, when they see their husband cry, when they see their dad cry. There's a disconnect there that makes them be like, well, are you really able to do what you say you're going to do? And it creates such a big problem with, I think, a lot of dads with these situations. Exactly. Like there's such a disconnect because you're not able to fully speak exactly how you're feeling because nobody really hears it.
right. And then you feel like you're heard, and then you feel stuffed down and stuffed down and stuffed down, and in my case, I got stuffed down one too many times, and I
Yeah.
popped off, and then just the darts came at me, you know?
Yep.
And it was not something that I, could deal with. So it was disassociation, from both him and, my brothers. So it was like I could come back to a point, and did to a point come back with my dad and was like, all right, we talked, we kind of pushed it under the barbecue grill like we do everything else and just moved forward, never talked about it, you know? And you're right. It's something that my dad was raised with. You don't talk about that kind of stuff. You don't show that kind of emotion. Um,
Yeah.
comes from where he was taught.
And it's so hard to push back against that. Like even still, it is really hard to fully be genuine and open because I don't want to multiply anybody's emotions.
Right.
I don't want to make things work worse for other people, but I try and be understanding of what they're telling me. And it's a paradox that I don't think a lot of dudes grasp either. Because it's like, oh, you have to be understanding of others, but they're not going to be understanding of you because you're not able to explain as in depthly as you feel you probably need to.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that honestly, I've been so successful in fixing the things that I have is like, I am very fucking loud. I'm very bitchy. I get it. But like as a whole, I get it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I don't. I'm not retarded. But
Right. Right. I think this is a good point in the conversation to make a retraction from our last conversation. And our last conversation was toxic family and how sometimes the toxicity or toxic behaviors. I'm not going to say a person as a whole
yeah,
is toxic because I think I put that on myself last episode, and I need to retract that because honestly, I'm not. I'm very very hard on myself, and so I'm working on that. And one of the
yeah,
things I need to say is that I feel like as a whole person, um, I'm not a toxic person, but I believe that there were and are working through behaviors that are and land toxic to other people, you know?
Well, there's a lot of impulses and stuff that we're taught even as young as, like, Ava's
Yeah,
age, where you're 4 or 5 years old and you're seeing, oh, this is how you react.
learned behaviors. Yeah.
You yell and you scream and you throw a
Yeah,
hissy fit if somebody doesn't give you your way. And if you're not shown that answer of, like, there is something different, you perceive
that's
the
what you
world
know.
as that is the only answer that you need to have,
Yep.
is stomp and throw a hissy fit or kick somebody or hit somebody or cut their hair because they're a bitch today. Like, as a whole, if you don't show them that calm and everything else wins through, they will be little fucking balls of fire.
Right.
They just will.
Yeah, and I did, and I went with it, and it was just it was the it's interesting, though, parts that I the parts of my growing up that I disliked the most is what I ended up looking at myself, just even the last couple of years, is I became some of those things in some of my
Yeah,
behaviors, and it's a really huge eye-opening step,
yeah.
when you're like, "Holy shit, I wasn't just hard to talk to, but I was defensive and argumentative and, know it all,"
Mhm.
how it's and then you look back at the parts of your childhood that you're like that stick out in my mind, and I'm just like, "Holy crap. Holy cow." And you trace it through as a learned behavior. And at what point do you realize it? Well, only when you realize it, only when something happens, and in this case, it was something happening for me, or somebody cares enough and understands enough how to talk to you to get it through to you.
Yeah.
Your mom was able to do that a couple times to me in my life, um, where there was some personality traits or some things that or ways that I spoke or things that I said, and she was able to get through to me and talk to me in certain ways, um, to let me see how I was coming across so that I could choose to not be an asshole like that, not knowing that I was an asshole in the way
And
I
it's
was.
weird. It's weird when you're in those situations where somebody wants to just paint you as the shittiest fucking brown wall paint that you could ever fucking imagine. It looks like a baby wiped their ass across the wall and you decided to paint with it. And they're like, "Look, you're that asshole. You're the asshole that nobody fucking likes. You have
Sometimes
every
you are.
single trait."
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's just something within themselves. Like, you could be like, "Hey, these are all the things that are wrong." And they're like, "You're a fucking retard. You're an idiot. Get out of here. I don't want to hear this from you. I don't care." And it's just like, I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to show you what you're doing wrong. I'm trying to show you every single thing that you can fix. So you could have that reconnection with your family whenever you want it to be available to you. And whenever you're able to give that apology, and people just don't care until they are ready to see it. They do not
Or they
fucking
don't.
care.
Yeah, or they don't know how to move past their already sometimes horrible actions, you know?
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
if
hard to take a look
if
back
they
at
wouldn't
yourself.
accept it, if somebody won't accept something so blindly of, like, "Oh, I fucked up this way. I have no idea what's coming for me. I might as well just fucking run." It's the same exact fucking conversation that we had in the "What are you running from" episode. When you decide that you couldn't accept what the fuck I did, what happens when I say, "Oh, somebody else has to accept it?" Fuck. It's a scary situation. Do I understand being defensive? Absolutely. But
Yeah.
what matters more? Your ego and your feelings, or actually the family around you and fixing it?
And a lot of people for, a certain points in, a certain time frame in their life, it's the ego because that's what comes through in society. you know? And honestly, if I wouldn't have listened to society, I probably would have been a much better person throughout my life. and it was just
Yeah.
trying to keep up with the Joneses as far as socially is concerned that turned me into the the asshole at certain points in my life. I wasn't always. I was. I can be a great person, kind-hearted, and I'd give you anything you needed if I could. If I could.
Yeah.
Um, but I also don't like to be taken advantage of, and I can come across pretty rough when I'm telling inconvenient truths.
Yeah.
We both know how that can be. Um, but I've
Yeah.
got I've
Uh,
come to a point in my life where I'd rather it land, you know. Um, but I want to get my point out. I want to get uh, it's it's just an expansion of being able to say what I need to say without putting somebody or making dressing somebody down or making them feel less about themselves. I don't like that done to
and
me, so I don't want to do it to anybody else.
and that's the hardest thing for me to like tell people to do this. Is it's not you're casting blame, you're cutting your parents, your sister, whoever down with a sword. What you're doing is saying, you did these things. They made me feel this way. Did you know? If you knew and you continued to do it, you're a piece of shit. You probably deserve the conversation.
Yeah,
If you didn't fully understand, there is ignorance there. And it's hard to grasp that. It's hard to grasp that and fully grasp exactly that somebody that you care about can be ignorant.
for sure. There's definitely a difference between being the asshole in certain situations and being a piece of shit because you do shit over and over and over again and take advantage of that person's vulnerabilities. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like there are times when it's malicious. There's times when
Well,
there's ignorance. There's times when it's just, I need to do what's best for me and nobody fucking cares anyway. So I'm just going to keep beating the same shit over the head and hope that it fucking works out. And it's just like there's no missing link there. You have to figure that out. You figure that out by having the conversation though, and that's the hardest part. Like, and I credit my mom because I had the balls to tell her all that at the beginning of the conversation. Hey, we're gonna have a really rough conversation, but you keep asking me to be honest with you. You keep asking me to tell you why I feel these things, so I'm gonna fucking tell you. But I don't want to hear, but I felt this. I don't want to hear, oh, but it made me feel this way. I need you to tell me this is why I did that. I'm sorry. That is it. I don't need explanations. They already happened. It's shit that happened. I trust your judgment for you to be around. Like
mm,
I don't need to retrust your judgment any more than what I already do. There's no explanation that can fix it. But let's have the conversation enough to heal the wound that's here that we can't go back and change.
right. And I think with your mom, um, in a lot of ways, she wants to break that cycle of non-communication because that's
Yeah.
exactly how her parents were. And then, I mean, it goes back and back and back because feelings are liberal woo-woo shit. And it doesn't have to be that way. And it is not that way. You don't have to, it doesn't have to all be that. But it was something that feelings are something that some people, a lot of I'm finding older generation people, they don't know how to process through themselves, so it's hard for them to even fathom processing it through with their kids,
Yeah.
you know?
And they don't want, I don't know if it's they don't want to, but it's almost like they don't want to understand. It's like they don't understand their own thoughts. So why would I understand yours?
Yeah.
It, it's part of like me not fully grasping the human fucking condition, I guess. Because I will sit here and I'll be like, this is how I feel. This is why I perceive this. This is what I'm dealing with in this situation. And everybody's like, how do you think that in depth with that entire situation? I'm like, you don't? I'm kind of confused here.
Mhm.
How the fuck does that?
Not everybody does. Like not everybody thinks things all the way through A to Z. You think things through A to Z and then back to G again just to make sure. It's not something that people do. Being able to think things all the way through like that.
But I
It's
don't think that I don't think a majority of people can do that. And I'm not trying to like
no.
give myself some major credit,
I'm
but like I think honestly, like I think a lot of people will see stuff at face value and be like, "Oh, that's obviously the fucking answer," and just
yes.
walk away from it.
Yes, especially in today's day and age, it's such a sensationalized society. You see a headline and
And
it's
how defensive
pow, pow. You know what I mean?
and how defensive everybody is. Like
Hmm.
they'll say, "Oh, that hurts my feelings. Oh, I don't like this person because they said something that I slightly disagree with." And all of a sudden it's like you walk away from family members just because of somebody they voted for.
Right, 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 right. And it's,
Because it's all sensationalized to the point where it's our feelings now.
mhm,
Like, that's not what we're talking about here. This is, like, shit that people did to you that's traumatic. If you fucking broke up a friendship or a relationship based off of somebody voting for somebody, you're one of the biggest dipshits I've ever seen. You've been lied to.
yeah,
You're a victim, and you are gullible as hell, and that goes from both fucking sides.
yeah. People will take a vulnerable mind, and infiltrate it from within. And I feel like a lot of these, um, a lot of people on the left, particularly, and I'm just speaking from being there in the past. Um, you're conditioned. You're
It's
conditioned
their
to,
ideals. It becomes their identity.
yeah, you're
And
conditioned to rage.
yeah,
And the sensationalized headline will reinforce that rage. And then you go onto any mainstream media, whether you think it's right or left. If it's mainstream media, there's something being sensationalized, there's something being
yeah.
skewed. And
And you don't have to have that kind of relationship with every fucking person in the world, every family member, everything that like just because you believe your dad is a religious right-wing dipshit. God damn, I really wish I could have used the word there. It would have been 3 hours. It would have been fantastic. Um, but like as a whole, if you think just because he's those things, obviously he's a bigot. Like those things don't guarantee everything else.
no,
Like, stop just stereotyping. Stop just wiping away people because you don't want to grasp that somebody might have value. Like maybe that's a player one fucking mentality. But as a whole, like everybody that's around you should provide some sort of value to you. You care that they are there. If they don't provide something, you probably don't care if they leave. And
well,
if you
yeah,
don't care if they leave, why are you holding on?
yeah, there's got to be. I was just talking to, bless you, I was just talking to um Sarah about that today. Is like you it, it's another one of those, you are who you hang out with, so you need to be able to take positive things and reinforce them going forward. If you have somebody in your life that's just an anchor, and is just not a good kind of anchor that's weighing you down and keeping you from flying away into outer space, but an anchor that keeps just pulling you underwater, so you can't breathe, and it's just a continual. They're not letting up, but they just keep pulling you underwater, and so you can't get your head up, and that's not the kind of person that you need to be around. That's not the kind of person that you need to
Yeah.
reconnect with if you've cut off from them. It's got to
It
be.
brings up the same analogy that I used last week where it was on, RMTS when I said it, is there's an analogy that all lifeguards use. If I go out there and you're drowning, it's my job to help you and make sure that you're safe and try and save you. But if you try and drown me, only one of us is drowning here,
Mhm.
and it's not gonna be me.
Yeah, you did use that on this podcast. It makes a lot of sense. It's hard to think about and it's hard to say, in a lot of cases, especially when you're just changing. the mindset, from
Yeah.
I'm going to drown trying to save this person to I'm going to do the best that I can, but I'm not going to go underwater with them. Um, it's the value for your own self and own life, um, that it's interestingly enough, I didn't have until lately. So it's
Yeah. The weird conglomerate that is your life only gets added value to and grows in size and gets
mhm,
gilded and becomes nice and shiny
yeah,
when you add to it, and everybody that's in that circle fucking adds.
as yeah,
If everybody's subtracting and you're a fucking ball of coal that somebody shoved up their ass 3 weeks ago, like literally, it's so valueless you don't want to even burn it.
yeah, there's going to be subtractions. I mean, things happen in life, and
Yeah.
the glass is going to spill a little bit, but that doesn't mean that you give up on somebody. You continue to work towards uh, the things that you want. You make sure that they're right with themselves and doing well for themselves, and making sure that they're going to step forward and not stay
Mhm.
in that quicksand that they may have been in or fell in temporarily.
No, that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Doesn't exist.
that's right. All those quicksand warnings.
I think it's more likely, and I think me and you have seen more posts about Spider-Man actually existing in New York than actual quicksand posts that I've ever seen in my life. I've
Climbing all
seen
those buildings.
Spider-Man posts in 4 different cities in New York, and I've seen 2 quicksand videos, and both of them were in the rainforest.
Yeah, and quicksand. I honestly, I mean, with the places that actually would have quicksand, you probably couldn't get phone service anyway. So, like, I don't even know if you'd be carrying a phone in that kind of terrain. But the way they tried to prep us for it when we were in elementary school
Why was it
is,
in every single fucking cartoon show? Every single one. It was one a season. Oh my god, we fell in quicksand.
uh-huh,
Scoop, why you in quicksand, buddy? Like it's just bad. Like it was fucking everywhere, and there's zero fucking reason for it.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
guess the caper of the missing weed was, not as funny. But honestly, like figuring out if somebody brings value to you,
yeah,
no matter if it's somebody as impactful as like your best friend. Sometimes that best friend just was meant to be with you for a few years. Sometimes 15. And then you cut them fucking free and they fall on their face and they realize they provided nothing. And that's a real hard realization to come to.
it is. You have
So,
to. Interestingly enough, if that toxicity remains, it's a no for me, dog, as far as reconnecting. But you have to
just
be
foot
able
getting
to.
black, let's cut it off. It's
Yeah,
done.
yeah, you can't. You got to cut off the foot to save the rest. But that being said, I'm the kind of person that if somebody sees the light on something, and we've had a falling out in the past, depending on, I mean, there are some unforgivable things, don't get me wrong. But barring those unforgivables for you, because they're different for everybody, um, I'm the kind of person that will reach my hand down and help if they're reaching up and have seen something or have
Yep.
want to change something, because we all need a helping hand every now and again. But they have to want to change, and you again flip that around, have to want to change to receive that hand.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I don't know where you guys are on your lonely road. If it's fucking rocky and gross, hopefully it gets better and you get some rain.
you can watch out for that
Or it's too
quicksand.
fucking muddy. You don't want to
Mm,
be in quicksand. You don't want to deal with the missing weed caper. We'll see you fucking next time.
cheers.
Feel a little bit better, boys. Keep walking.